Hello and welcome to Ham Nation, episode 528, August 31st, 2022. And hello everybody, I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks so much for coming out again for Ham Nation, again here on Wednesday, every other week. We got a busy show, lots of guests, lots to talk about, as always, but let's hop right over and say hi to the hosts. Joe's back this week. Joe, we had a little bit of fun in Huntsville. I'm going to be talking about that. But what's going on with you, Joe?
Well, I'll talk about Huntsville, show a couple of pictures of the Young Ham of the Year award presentation. And then I'm going to show a couple of pictures of the Northeastern Ham Exposition in the Boston area that I just was at. And I'm going to show a new kit that's coming out.
Fantastic. Gordo, how are you doing?
We are doing fine. All of California is under a heat watch, so we've turned down a lot of the lights here. And tonight we're going to see how you can take your upcoming amateur radio upgrade or maybe a new ham and, heck, test in the shower, test on the beach, test wherever you can get internet. We'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, it's 91 where I'm at, but it was 99 earlier, so that was the high for today. Anyway, Dawn, how are you doing, bud?
I am good. We are, thankfully, and this is the first time this has happened in 27 years. Just last week was the 17th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, the first anniversary of Hurricane Ida, which was horrible, and 2 or 3 other hurricanes all right around the same time. And we made it through August with no named storm in the Gulf of Mexico. First time that's happened in 27 years. And we're getting into the peak of hurricane season here in a couple of weeks, right around the middle of September, which is my wedding anniversary too. So it'll probably rain on that day, but we're very excited about that. So weather's been nice and calm, a lot of rain, but no hurricanes. And I can deal with that. We've got some information about a really cool special event coming up that's just dripping in Southern charm. And we've got the latest from Amateur Radio Newsline as well. So we got a good show tonight, Josh.
Indeed. Amanda, back again. How are you doing?
Fabulous as well. Thank you for asking. I had some fun at a ham fest this last weekend. Kind of my first job that I got to do as section manager. So that was a great time. Met a lot of people and got to talk. Let's see. I have also an ARRL representative here, Mike Walters, that we're going to be talking to about what's coming up next for some club activities and what you can be doing to get you some more green. We mean the cash. Other than that, I'm going to be watching chat and just at us.
At Amanda names. Or at Ham Radio Crash Course.
There you go.
And with your questions, we'll see them live and we'll take them live.
That's right. So I'll just get right to it. Mike, we have Mike Walters, W8ZY here. Thanks for joining us tonight, Mike. How are you doing?
Good, Amanda. How are you doing?
Fantastic, of course. Thank you. Hopefully it's not too hot where you're at. We're all right here. Anyhow, you're going to talk to us. You were already on here once. You visited, told us how we could get some grant money if we were a club, things like that. But evidently, it's time for the second round, right?
Well, we started the first round. I was with you guys back about the end of April, something like that, first part of May, somewhere. I forget exactly when.
Me too.
If it was more than yesterday, I probably have forgotten most of it anyway. But first round kicked off. Now, let me give you some statistics.
All right.
Typically, what we look at is, or this is the first time that we've ever done this. So we looked at ARDC gave ARRL Foundation $500,000 to give out in grant money. And we decided we were going to do this in 2 rounds. And first round started May 4th and ended the end of June. We had, imagine, somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000 to $300,000 to give away in grants. We had requests that totaled $1.74 million.
Wow.
So a lot of people wanted money. And we were happy to give the ones that we did. 24 clubs were awarded grants. And $270,000 is going out here very shortly to those clubs. So we contacted everybody who applied. We did have 128 applications from across the country. We were overwhelmed with the response. Actually, it was a little more than we had anticipated. So it took a little more time to do all the evaluation and get everything done properly. But that's behind us. We're dealing with the clubs that are being awarded grants. And next Wednesday, September 7th, we're opening round 2. So everybody who did not get a grant in round 1 is welcome to reapply. Now, I will tell you, because you have to reapply, nothing from your old application is going to carry over.
Okay.
In order to make it fair, but you do have to reapply and you have to fill out the forms properly. And a couple of things that I would love to tell people if you are going to apply for the grant. One is read the instructions carefully. We had quite a few people who submitted applications that were incomplete or they didn't follow the directions that we gave them. And it makes it very, very difficult for us to evaluate the application if everything's not the same. So that's why we give you the templates. We want everything to be set up in the same order. So beginning next Wednesday, running through October 28th, they will have the opportunity to reapply. Obviously, if we gave $270,000 away in the first round, we have about $230,000 to give away in the second round, and we're intending to do that. We're going to give all of it away, as much as we can.
Very good.
We're inviting everybody to reapply if they wish. Now, there will be another one of our world famous, as we say, informational webinars. Fred Kemmerer, AB10C, the Northeast Division Director for ARRL, and I will be on next Wednesday night. And if you go to the ARRL website, right now on the very front, there's a news article about us awarding the grants, and it will take you to the news article, and it has the link for registration for next week's website, or next week's webinar.
Okay.
And we invite everybody to apply, or everybody to take a look. As I said, we had 128 applications that were completed. I went back and looked, and we had 55 applications that people started but never completed.
Well, that's interesting. Hopefully they decide to come through it. Now, you keep saying the reapply, but you don't have to be a reapplicant, right? This can be your first application?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We invite everybody. If you didn't apply in the first round, you're more than welcome to apply in the second. You don't have to be coming back from the first round to apply. So and we know that there were several people that said, we're still working on what our project will be. And the projects that were awarded, the 24 grants that are being awarded, are a little bit of everything, from a high school that applied for $500 to put a new antenna on the roof of the high school for their radio club. They will be looking at everything that will, we're going to award all of this money to clubs that we think had the most transformative, and that's the big word that we keep using, mostly educational programs, outreach programs, funding for programs that are more than just, we want to buy a radio for field day and the rest of the year we're going to keep it in a box in the closet. We probably won't fund that. But the guys who are saying we're putting together a STEM program with the local high school or with the local school system, and it's going to be more than just buy a new radio for the rig. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yep.
Even repeaters, I don't imagine, there's a lot of repeaters out there, so I don't know that clubs need to apply for a grant for another one, but my personal opinion. So be unique, everybody, in your applications, and have a real purpose. technology based always helps, I'm sure. Anything else you want to tell us about what gives anyone a nudge up to get some of this money?
I would think that the best thing they can do is think about your project, your plan for what you're going to do with the money. And as before, the top limit is $25,000. So whatever you're going to do, it needs to be something that helps your club grow. It helps the community. It helps expand amateur radio. And we love to see things like relationships with STEM programs and educational programs. You know, and I can tell you there were some very creative uses for grant money came in. Some of them just seem like, there's free money, so we're just going to apply for it. You need to put some thought into it. And for that, we tell you there is a template on the application site, on the Kaleidoscope site, that says this is the grant narrative. And that's the questions where we ask, how is it going to be, how are you going to do this? And, one of the things that we keep saying is, we're going to do this, and then we'll take the gear that we're buying around to schools and show them. That's not really a plan.
That's not, it's definitely truly not a plan. Well, so, Mike, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Put it in.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. You cut out there a little bit. Okay.
The idea is make it something worthwhile. We're not giving money away just to buy new gear. It has to be used for something worthwhile.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad that you guys got the opportunity to do this. And thank you to the ARDC for giving ARRL the money to do this. And one other thing, I'm just so sorry I'm not going to see you in Newington in September.
Yeah, for those of you that may not know, Amanda being the Colorado section manager now, we invited all of our new section managers to Newington in about 2 weeks, actually. Yeah. And for a couple of days of training, but Amanda has to stay home.
I do.
And Amanda, you'll be heartened to know that today I was in a meeting where we're picking the stuff that goes in the swag bags that the section managers are going to take home with them.
That's not fair. I'm just going to send a cutout of myself and you guys can put me in the room. So, well, Mike, thanks for joining us this evening and good luck with those next round of applications, and I appreciate you joining us tonight.
I'll be back to let you know how it works out.
You better. All right, Gordo, we're going to go over to you. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike, for joining us in another exciting league program. Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of neat programs getting started now that COVID is over. And Club Elmer's teaching classes, volunteer examiners, contact volunteer examiners, those planning to upgrade or brand new hams wondering where to test. Now you can do it absolutely paperless. And to learn more about this new way of testing remotely, one-on-one, actually one with a lot of volunteer examiners via Zoom looking on, here's Alan, WB5QNG, with Larry, NB5X with a W5YI group, and Alan and Larry, wow, testing without paper, huh?
Yeah. All right. Well, what I'm going to talk about, I don't know if Larry's going to say something first or not, but what I'm going to talk about is how the pandemic has changed testing. Prior to the pandemic, everything was paper. 99.9% of the testing out there was done with paper. And to give you an idea how things have changed, I'll give you a little history of amateur radio testing. Prior to 1984, all testing was done in the FCC's offices. If you want to get a ham radio license, you ended up driving several hours typically to the major city to an FCC office. In 1982, the Congress changed the law or enacted a law that allowed the FCC to use volunteers. And in 1984, the SEC created the VEC program, which allowed the volunteer examiners to give exams. And the first volunteer examiner exam was given in 1984. 2007, the SEC, of course, removed the Morse code requirements. In 2014, the SEC changed Part 97 to allow remote testing. They removed just a couple little words that said we had to be present to give the exam. Prior to 2020, the average number of new licenses a year is about 12 to 18,000 licenses a year. It varied from one year to the next, except for 2007 when there were 24,000 licenses issued that year. Of course, that was a year code was removed as a requirement. Then came February of 2020. Testing, especially in-person testing, basically came to a dead stop. Practically no one was giving tests. There were a few tests being given, like in parking lots or parks or places where people could spread out, but for the most part, testing came to a dead stop. And this is typically what it looked like. You'd have your exam there, and you'd be grading either in pen or pencil, taking your test.
I remember that.
And they'd have to be graded by 3 hams, and everybody had to agree on the grade. A little bit of more history. We're using a package called Exam Tools, but Exam Tools isn't exactly new. It's been around for about 20 years. Back in the late 80s, W5YI VEC developed a program called Ham Exam. It was written in Visual Basic, running on XP. It was primarily used to print out exams, but it could be used in standalone mode on the PC to give an exam and then print off the answer sheet, a graded answer sheet. Ham Exam at that time was primarily used, and Exam Tools replaced it to give exams in a university computer lab. There was a group up there in Salt Lake City. They were typically testing about 30 to 50 people every month. And so they were using a university computer lab to give the test. And the Exam Tools replaced Ham Exam because they added some features like a 605 and a basic manifest so that everybody didn't get writer's cramp filling out all the forms. In March of 2020, Richard Bateman, the primary developer for Exam Tools, gave a demo, and actually it was a real live exam, but gave a demo to Larry on how Exam Tools could be used to give remote exams and some of the capabilities of it. Now, it wasn't all quite there yet. A little bit of it was smoke and mirrors, but it was basically functional. And so in April of 2020, Larry tasked myself to sit down and look at this package and see if there's a way we could use it to give exams, since couldn't really give paper exams anymore or in-person exams. Initially, we had to use Adobe Sign, DocuSign to create CSCE, signed documents. So we were spending almost as much time outside the exam session as in the exam session getting documents created. So April of 2020, we basically had a fundamental change in testing. Exam Tools started undergoing rapid changes to round off the rough edges so we could do remote exams. We quickly settled in on Zoom as our tool for being able to observe the applicant, taking the exam, make sure they had a nice clean environment, no study materials or anything on their desk to take the exam. But again, we were having to use Adobe Sign, DocuSign to sign documents. In late May, we got digital signatures. So now we could no longer have to send things out. We could actually just digitally sign the documents. We had a more complete manifest. A typical manifest, you have a manifest of applicants, a manifest of VEs, and a manifest telling you what elements were taken. So we got most of that added in late May. In early June, we wrote the code between myself and Richard to export sessions out of Exam Tools and import them into the W5YI VEC database. So that package, we still had a lot of rough edges to work over, but we finally got most of the rough edges worked out in October. What was called Tier 2 or Version 2 of Exam Tools released. And this was a fairly complete package of Exam Tools for doing remote exams. Had most of the features the VECs were wanting. the VECs that were using it. And during May, June, and early July, we could not test fast enough. There were probably no more than a handful of teams doing remote testing. We could not test fast enough. We'd test a dozen people a day and put 20 on the wait list. Anyway, once we got version 2 out and started getting more teams online, exam tools rapidly started accounting for over a third of all exams given. And that's just not W5YI, that is period. If you went and looked in the FCC database at new applications, and you looked at the total number of applications given by exam tools accounted for over a third of the applications for new licenses. For those who think ham radio is dying, in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, we issued 33,000 new licenses that year. This is straight out of the FCC database. There were 33,000 new license grants. 2021, we did 35,000 new license grants. 2022, we're on track to meet or exceed that. The numbers at the mid-July, we were already up over 18,000 new license grants by mid-July. And to give you an idea how we do things, we use 8-inch tablets. We use a little Amazon Fire 8 tablets, or you can use about any tablet. This is the tablet. This is my tablet, what it looks like when it comes up for in-person exams. Using the same software we use doing remote, but we're doing it on a tablet. And these tablets are locked. They can only give exams. Well, in this case, you can register for an exam, you can take an exam, or if the VE didn't bring a smartphone or laptop, you can actually use one of the tablets to assist with the exam. That's the only function these tablets can do. They're locked down with kiosk software. Once an applicant gets registered, they get a PIN code, and that's how they get into the exam session. That's how we know who they are. And they join the session by putting in my call sign or my team identifier and then the PIN. And this is what it looks like when they actually take the exam. This is a real live session that was conducted just a couple weeks ago. I think you can see my mouse on here, but this up here in the corner is a calculator that they can call up if they need a calculator during their test. When they exit the calculator, it brings them right back to where they were in the test. But they can sit here and use their finger or stylus to select the answer that they want, and the system records their answer. Here's another example of another person. He's using a stylus on the tablet, and just scrolling up and down on the tablet to get to the various questions. Some people have asked, what did the graphics look like? Well, here's what the graphics looks like when you first bring up the question. If you can't read that on an 8-inch tablet, an 8-inch tablet's a pretty good sized tablet. By tapping the graphics, it blows it up to full screen. Tap it again, it goes back. Again, this is a session. You see some people are using styluses, some people are using their thumbs. We have to use these little stands to hold the tablets because it turns out that table, even though it looks like it's wood, it's really metal. And if you lay the tablet down on there, it disconnects from the Wi-Fi. When an applicant's all done, they hit grade exam. And a VE has to authorize grading, and hopefully they'll get a nice pretty green screen that tells them they passed. And at this point, they can either take the next exam or say, I'm done, and ask for their paperwork to be signed.
Alan, Gordo, they can also take it on their own laptop computer, correct? Or a regular big computer?
They could, but we discourage that because we want them locked down to where now if it's a remote exam, they'll use their own computer.
Yes,
and they'll share their desktop so we can see that they're not bringing up Google or something to go look for things. So we're watching, when we do a remote exam, they share their screen with us, so we see them. We have a split screen where we have them on one side of the screen and their desktop on the other side of the screen, so we can see what's going on and make sure they don't do things. And for those that are concerned, we do a room sweep ahead of time to make sure there's no study materials on the wall, no posters, anything like that, nothing on the desk. And yes, people have tried to beat the system, but they have found out that we have methods to prevent that. Anyway, this is a an online session. You notice there's more than 3 VEs on here. In fact, looks like a little over a dozen VEs on here. And they just gave that little gal in the red blouse up there her test, and she just passed her tech exam. And this particular night, Stephen, WM7X, called me up and said, hey, we just had this little 8-year-old pass her exam. What can we do to get her license quickly? And this was pre-fees, pre-application fees. So we were able to go in, load it up onto the FCC site, and she had her call sign within 15 minutes of passing.
Wow.
Can't do that anymore with the fees. Anyway, once they've completed, we always have to review forms, make sure the paperwork's filled out. And this is one of the nice things about Exam Tools. It gives us a nice, pretty printed 605. No more interpreting handwriting. It's all there. Now, this is off the sandbox session, so it's not a real form. But one of the nice features is this right here tells us the digital signature, so we know this form hasn't been changed. If this form had been changed, the applicant signature and all the VE signatures would disappear and go blank. And it also fills out our CSCEs for us. Again, you can say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't look like a real call sign. Again, as you can tell by the watermark on here, this was done off the sandbox, which is our testing site. Not our live testing site, it's our training site where we use to train VEs on how to use Exam Tools. And again, you can use their finger or pencil to create a digital signature and then hit sign documents. And that completes all the applicant has to do to take a test. This is a live test session a couple of weeks ago. We had 4 VEs. You can't see the end of the table. We had about 4 VEs in a room and 6 applicants. I think we were given 2 tech, 2 general, and 2 extras in this session. The whole session, including grading, sending out CSCEs, and submitting everything to W5YI for processing, took less than 30 minutes.
And they can also do it all by themselves in the shower or on the beach with their own computer.
We've given tests remotely in about every room you can think of. I think we've seen every room in a house that you can see. We've given tests on by the pool, and intense by the pools, out by the barn, on the back porch, front porch, attics, bathrooms, laundry rooms. We used to play a game when we first started this called Exam Tools Bingo. Where did you give a test at? One of the other nice features about Exam Tools on this, I don't know how easy this is to see on the screen, but as a VE, we can monitor the progress of how each person is doing taking the exam. Now, we're not grading at this point. We're just seeing how many questions they've answered. But we can see how far along the progress is. In this case, this applicant here has already completed one element because we got a green box here, and he's taken a second element. He was taking his tech and his general at that time. There's a lot of advantages to using Exam Tools. Exam Tools is an exam management system. It's not just for giving exams. It handles your registration, your 605s, your CSCEs. It generates all your documentation for the VEC, at least for W5YI. I can't speak for all the other VECs, but for W5YI, it generates a complete package. And literally, once the last person has finished their documents and signed it, the exam team is done within a couple minutes. They literally just have to download 2 files and send them off to the VEC, put them in the VEC's Dropbox. No more collating papers, scanning session documents, none of that stuff. The team will generate will put a PDF file that's all the session documents, all the manifests, the 3 different manifests, the 605, the CSCE, and the answer sheet for every applicant are put together in one big PDF that is submitted to the VEC for processing, as well as, at least in W5YI's case, a import file. And we have the software at W5YI to where after Tracy has opened up her inbox, look for any exception email. Someone may have had an issue in a session or said, hey, this guy needs to be put on hold. He's waiting for his license to be issued, or here's the CSCE or a copy of the old QRZ book from an old call sign we're getting credit for. So she looks and finds all that documentation, checks out the PDF. If she doesn't see anything she's unhappy with, then she'll open up the VEC software and go file session import and go click, 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 and import all the sessions. She can import a whole weekend in just a couple seconds.
Wow, that is terrific. Larry, did you want to add anything to Alan, and that we're just about ready to go on to questions from Amanda? Larry?
Well, no, I just wanted to say thank you to Josh and Ham Nation and you, Gordon, for inviting us to come in tonight and give this overview of what's going on with examinations today. And this is a picture of Tiffany on the left and Tracy on the right. There are two girls that work in the VEC department, the VEC office. And just wanted to say thank you for letting us come in and show this presentation that Alan's created. And I thank him for all of his hard work that he's done for the last several years to put this whole thing together for us.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Larry. And Larry and I are very busy with the new Ham instructor program. So for those VEs that are also teaching classes, we've got plenty for you to do as well in enjoying all of the materials that the Ham instructor is coming up with that we've had in the past. So Alan, back to you for a final, and then we'll go to Amanda to see if she has any questions. Alan?
Well, that's it for me. I mean, there's some contact information if someone needs to get a hold of me or W5YI if they want to find out, find sessions with W5Y or they have questions for the VEC. They can contact them if they want to know about getting signed up with W5YI to do remote exams. They can contact me, and we'll arrange training and get them all set up. One thing I do need to point out. What I've pointed out here today is per W5YI policies and procedures. Not all VECs use exam tools. Not all VECs allow remote exams. Not all VECs allow computer exams. So this is a VEC by VEC decision about what of these features you can use or are even available. With W5YI, we've got the whole gamut available.
They sure do. Well, thanks so much. And along with all this great computer work, Bob, by the way, K3DIO with the W5YI volunteers, now has PowerPoint. So our instructor PowerPoint is back again, thanks to Alan getting it posted and Larry getting the site open. And Amanda, do you have questions from the chat room?
Oh, you betcha. I do. Don't go anywhere, Alan. So first you started with a lot of statistics and a lot of numbers. One person had asked, are those numbers net new or do they include upgrades?
They do not include upgrades. This is new issue licenses only.
Okay.
They do not include upgrades.
Wow.
Upgrades, we did about 20, I think each year we've been averaging about 24,000 upgrades.
All right. That's good. That's a lot, by the way, in seeing those numbers.
The new licenses are the whole exam tools has opened up a whole new, I guess, market for amateur radio.
Sure.
One thing we hear a lot from people is, oh, this is great because I'd have to drive 2 hours to go take the exam and I always have to work the weekend they're giving the exam.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things like that. Schedules are usually the hardest.
And we've given a lot of tests to people that are homebound for one reason or another, sick or whatever.
All right, well, let's go to that question next. Can the questions be read to blind hams remotely?
This software is actually blind reader compatible. We've actually given several tests to people that are blind using screen readers. And so it actually works with a number of the screen readers that are available out there. In fact, we just gave a test last week to a ham.
That is really fantastic, and kudos for that being capable. The next question is, has it been updated so people can use Chromebooks? I think did you answer that?
It works with current version Chromebooks. You cannot use older Chromebooks. There's an issue with older Chromebooks. I forget what it is, but older Chromebooks don't work real good with exam tools. There's some issues. They get hung and stuff like that. But if you've got one that's within the last year or the software's been updated to within the last year, it works.
Interesting. Okay. So maybe it's just a platform, the certain Android version.
Certain Android versions have problems.
Okay. And next, this was just a comment. Amazing numbers for remote sessions. Gone are the days of burning gas, diesel to get to test sessions. These are 100% paperless sessions. So yes, it's amazing. The next question is, how does the FCC get the document that you passed? Does the VE submit it?
The VE submitted to the VEC.
Okay.
The VEC responsibility is to verify the test session was done properly, that all the VEs were properly accredited. They gave the proper test elements. They didn't, give someone an out-of-date test or something like that. Fortunately, with exam tools, that's almost impossible to do.
Okay,
it is impossible.
Let's go over what a VEC is so everyone has the understanding of the difference between a VE and a VEC, if you don't mind.
The VEs administer the exams. They're the arbitrator of did the applicant pass or fail?
Okay.
We give our documentation to the VEC. The VEC, for lack of a better word, acts like quality control. They double check our work and say, all right, yes, they gave current exams. All the examiners are accredited. All the paperwork is properly filled out. In other words, they make sure we didn't send in a 605 with a social security number on it, or that the 605 has an email on it. We didn't leave that out. With paper exams, I filled in for Tracy for a couple of weeks last year, and I probably rejected almost a quarter of the 605 paper exams because they either had social security numbers, missing email addresses, they didn't answer the BQQ. I mean, that's what the VEC does. They act as a quality control to make sure everything is proper before it goes to the FCC.
Okay.
Once they're happy everything is correct, then they create what's called a batch file that gets uploaded to the FCC for processing.
Okay, and one other question we had, and I might have missed some, Josh, but I think it was Pepe wanted to know, how do you become a VE? Now, there's different types of VEs, is there not? So there's the ARRL VE, there's a W5YI
Every
VE.
VEC has different procedures for accreditation.
Okay. All right.
Some VECs want you to take a test. Some VECs say just send us a form and we'll instant accredit you. W5YI, the recommendation there is you find a VE team, ask them for I hate to call it a sponsorship, but ask them for a recommendation.
Okay.
They'll give you an application. The team leader will sign the back of the application and submit it to W5YI for you to be accredited. It's very rare for just an individual just out in the middle of nowhere to just get accredited, because you can't do anything by yourself.
Sure.
You have to have at least 3 or 4 people to give a test. So the general recommendation is, find a team leader, get the form from him, have him, sign the form for you, saying, yeah, he wants you as a VE, and submit it to W5YI. You can always call W5YI if you don't know where the team is near you, and they'll find someone to hook you up with. But
Perfect.
That's W5YI's procedure. Every VEC has a different procedure for accrediting VEs.
Absolutely. I do believe the ARRL makes you take a quick exam. Laurel, I'm not exactly sure. I don't recall. People are talking about it on chat, by the way. Josh, any questions I missed?
I think you got most of them there, Amanda.
Okay.
Great job. Yeah.
All right.
So
well,
great numbers and great work,
yes.
guys. Wonderful.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Larry, for being here tonight. Any final words before we go to commercial break?
Well, again, I just want to say thank you for Gordon and Ham Nation and Ham Radio Crash Course for bringing us on tonight to explain what goes on the VEC side of the world. And the best thing that I've heard in years is the number of people that are coming into the hobby through this medium of testing. It is different, but it's a streamlined way of doing what was old school on paper. And other than that, everything that works back then as far as reviewing and making sure everything was done right is still done. So,
and by the way, for people that want to give paper exams, it still works.
Yeah.
We still have a few teams out there giving paper exams and submitting paper exams. It's just, you got to wait for the mail to deliver them, and who knows how long that's going to be.
It could take a while, or for
It could take a while.
processing.
Oh, that's great.
I mean,
Well,
literally, Tracy can process a whole weekend while she's having her cup of coffee in the morning.
there you go. Well, thanks so much, and we appreciate all your hard work, and Bob with the PowerPoints, and Stephen, WM6X with his training, and Larry, thank you for coming tonight, and Alan, the best. So, Amanda, back to you.
Well, thank you, Gordo. Appreciate it. Thanks for a wonderful guest there to talk about all things W5YI. Appreciate it. All right, now we're going to get a word from Icom.
Keep your competitive contesting edge with Icom. Icom's high-powered base stations cut through pileups, letting you work the bands and record those contacts.
I love my
Contest
Icom,
from the comfort of
just
your
so
home
everyone knows.
or remotely with the RSBA1
IC
app.
7610.
Worked it, logged it. The IC7300
My
is a
7600
high-performance,
is rock
innovative
solid
HF
bullet.
transceiver
Isn't it?
with a compact design that will far
And my
exceed your
5100.
expectations.
Yeah,
This
for our
innovative
guests,
HF
many
transceiver
times we can't
digitizes
hear the
RF
audio,
before various
but it is
receiver
going
stages,
out on
reducing inherent
YouTube.
noise in different IF stages. The IC7300 changed the way entry-level HF is designed. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope,
I have a
and SD memory
7610
card
here.
slot. The real HF fun starts
And I
here.
look forward to going
Create
to
your own
Enid.
band
We're going to
opening
do
with the
a kit build there in
IC9700.
November.
This
And I'll
transceiver
also
brings direct
be
sampling to the
speaking
UHF
in
VHF
Cheyenne.
weak signal
Amanda, I'll
world.
see you.
This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are sure to keep you busy. Faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. 4.3-inch color touchscreen TFT LCD, real-time high-speed spectrum scope, and waterfall display. Smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode. Icom's IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR can pick out faint signals in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The Icom 7610 is a direct sampling, software-defined radio that has changed the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling system, 110 RMDR, independent dual receiver, dual digicell. Icom's IC7851 gives you a new window into the RF world and is HF excellence unparalleled. With faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal, it's truly the pinnacle of HF perfection. Dual receivers, digital IF filters, memory keyer, digital voice recorder, high-resolution spectrum waterfall display, enhanced PC connectivity, and SD memory card slot. Learn more about all these great Icom radios at icomamerica.com/amateur.
And we thank Icom for sponsoring Ham Nation as always. I bet you all want to know who won that 5100 from last month. Well, the winner of the grand prize in August was Daniel M. N4LOM. This month, for September, or we're going into September, they're going to be giving away another ID52. So I know you all want to get in on that. How do you do? Well, the link there in the description for icomamerica/Ham Nation will take you to the page. You click that Enter Now button, provide your information, I believe it's email, your call sign, and you'll get entered into a monthly swag pack giveaway. 3 winners are selected, and those 3 winners get added to a list that is ever growing throughout the year, and then they pick winners for the radio at the end of the month for that winner. So that's how you enter. It's pretty simple. So you not only can get a chance at winning some cool Icom swag, you can also potentially get a radio like Daniel did. So make sure you join in on that today. All right? Links in the description for everybody there. All right, we're throwing to Don to keep this train a-moving. So Don, how are you doing?
Oh man, I am just about as fabulous as I can possibly be. I've got some information about a really cool special event. It's kind of in the vein of, if you remember not too long ago, the world's largest teapot. We're going to talk about something like that that's just dripping in Southern charm. But first, we're going to get a word from the Newsline crew and see what's going on with the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline.
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2339, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. Students in an amateur radio club in Romania have returned home with full hearts and full logbooks after 4 days of activating the countryside's beautiful mountains.
A group of young amateurs from the school radio club YO6KGS in Romania set out from Reccio village in late July for their latest adventure, a 4-day SOTA expedition in the Umalo Mountains, after watching demonstrations by Saba YO6PIB and Eva YO6EVA, who activated their first summit, Umalo Peak. The students joined them on 20 metres and 17 metres, ranging in age from 12 to 20. Many of the students had gone on previous activations with the school club and their advisors. The whole team had activated Umalo Summit YOEC007 and logged summit-to-summit QSOs from Munsell YOEC527 to Umalo on VHF and UHF. Daria YO6CDC wrote in her online diary that until the next time, quote, "We have the radio waves, the contests, the radio club where we meet, while the memories last forever," end quote. This is Ed Durant, DD5LP.
A documentary film celebrating the spirit of invention has just won top honors at a Los Angeles film festival. Not surprisingly, the film's creative team included a ham.
Pathways to Invention, a newly released documentary film directed and co-produced by a Santa Barbara, California amateur radio operator, has been chosen as Best Documentary Feature at the Los Angeles Independent Film Festival Awards. Levi C. Maya, K6LCM, is both a teacher and a tinkerer who believes that technology can be a driving force to power education. A proponent of the maker movement, Levi and his production partner, Noah G. Mark, follow 10 emerging innovators on their journeys to become inventors. The film was made with the support of the Lemelson Foundation. At the festival, the film also received awards for Best Producer, Best Original Music Score, and Best Director of a Documentary Feature. The film is to premiere this year. Levi has been active on the Education Committee of Amateur Radio on the International Space Station. He is also a life member of AMSAT and a board member of the Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club. I'm Mike Askins, KE5CXP.
India has just marked its 75 years of independence, and hams have been busy celebrating on the air.
Amateurs throughout India and beyond have been marking that nation's 75 years of independence with special event stations and commemorative nets. Special event station AT75CW will be on the air using CW from September 1st through October 2nd from northern India. Rajesh VU2CW is the same operator who activated AT75 radio earlier this month on SSB. Meanwhile, the Indian YL-net on the India Conference server on Echolink marked the nation's independence with a series of guest net control operators during the week of Monday, August 15th. Guest net controllers on this daily net included Dr. S. Satyapal, VU2FI, Director of the Indian Institute of Hams, using the call sign AU75IIH. India officially marked its independence on Monday, August 15th. This is Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Ed Durant, DD5LP, Mike Askins, KE5CXP, Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT, at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Welbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.
Well, thank you very much to the Newsline crew for putting that together for us. We don't have a solar update from Dr. T tonight. She was extremely busy and did not get anything done for us that was current. The latest video that she has on her YouTube channel is about 3 days old, so you can go take a look at that. And also remember to follow her on Twitter at Tamitha Scove, spaceweatherwoman.com, and of course her YouTube channel, Tamitha Scove. So some great stuff about that. I will give you my own solar update. I went outside today and I saw it. It was up there and it was warm in South Mississippi. So that's the solar update from here. And speaking of South Mississippi, let's see if we can get our friend General Daly on. There he is. Now, General, is your name. That is not necessarily your rank. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. I've known people named Major, but you're the only General that I know. And General is KD4 VVZ. And let me tell people where you are. You are in Lucedale, Mississippi. Now, if you wanted to look and see exactly where Lucedale, Mississippi was, and you wanted to see where in Mississippi that was really easily, you go from the Gulf of Mexico and you go north 40 miles, and then you go from the Alabama state line and you go west 10 miles. And that is where Lucedale, Mississippi is. And you've got a special event coming up this weekend. General, tell us about it. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, this is the first time that our group has done a field day type at the park. And so we don't have a national park in our area, so we can't do a POTA technically. But it is celebrating the 85th year of what we call the scratching post. There's a 4x4x8 wooden post with little notches in it downtown. And it's got some good history. You can go to the K5K page, QRZ page, and look at that. And we're just trying to celebrate a little heritage we have here in our little community. And it's kind of nice. You know, President Reagan was there at one time, and a couple other figures, and some of the people there probably before the time I was actually born was there. So it's pretty old. It's been there quite a while. And also, it gives us an opportunity to be in the public eye to help the public know more and get more familiar with ham radio. So that's what we're trying to do. And the main thing that we want to do is just have fun. I mean, if the hobby can't be fun, why even do a hobby?
Exactly. Now, let's talk about the scratching post a little bit. Like I said, it's a 4x4 post. It stands 8 feet tall. It has been at the corner of Main and Mill Streets. This is all on the QRZ page for K5K, Kilo 5 Kilo. It's at the corner of Main and Mill Street. There was a restaurant there forever that was called the Coffee Pot Restaurant. And from 37 until 93, that cafe was open. And people would come by, and it was a habit you would scratch your back on this post because it had notches cut in it. And some of the people, so listen, Dizzy Dean, baseball legend Dizzy Dean, country music artists like Tennessee Ernie Ford and Ernest Tubb, Ronald Reagan when he was an actor, Kirk Douglas, Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, and Tom Lester. Gordon, do you know who Tom Lester is?
No, I don't. Who's Tom?
Tom Lester was Ebb on Green Acres. Now
we're
talking.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
We're talking the A-team here now, so this is really cool. So anyway, the Coffee Pot Restaurant is long gone, but the scratching post is still there at Main and Mill in Lucedale, Mississippi. Population just under 25,000, and it's the coolest little town with the coolest people. And you are going to have the most Southern hospitality in Lucedale, Mississippi. I think that one could stand. So what are the operating hours for the special event, General? And where can we find you on the bands?
Well, we're going to be on 20 meters and 40 meters, working FT at FT4 and then voice as well. Not sure what frequencies, but of course being a general portion. And we're going to start operating at 8 o'clock Mississippi time till 6 o'clock. Mississippi time. Now, if you want to get there early, you want to help out, we're just going to start setting up at 6 a.m. I'll probably be there at 5 a.m. just because I'm an early riser. But we're going to work it come rain or shine, and hopefully everything will go work well. And this being one of our first big events besides a field day, this is going to be a learning experience, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully we can make this a annual tradition. Our group is really energized and excited about this.
I bet. I was hoping to be able to make it because Lucedale's about 100 miles away from me, and I did field day at General's house. Was it year before last, and just had the best time, and was really looking forward to doing the scratch and post thing. But unfortunately, I have to work on Saturday, so. But we'll find another time to get together. It was really good seeing you and your lovely wife at Huntsville. That was a real treat.
Yes.
And so we will look for you. Yeah, we will look for you on the air with the Scratch and Post special event station. I think this is just as cool as the world's largest teapot. It really is. And I love the history, the fact that it's been there since the 30s and it's still there and you can still scratch your back where Tennessee Ernie Ford and Ernest Tubb and Ronald Reagan and Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and all those guys. And let's not forget Ebb. Can't forget Ebb. You can scratch your back or Ebb scratch. I think they probably painted it since then, but nonetheless, it's the same wood. And you two can join that list of of the scores and probably thousands of people since back in the 30s who have stopped by to scratch their back on the scratching post. Every little town has a really cool thing, and that is, in my book, that general is a really cool thing, and you're a really cool guy, and we're so glad that we could kind of let the world know about Lucedale and the fine people and what goes on around the scratching post.
Well, thank you, Don, and thanks to Ham Nation for allowing us to get on here. Appreciate all the work that y'all do.
Great. Well, we will see you on the air, hopefully, at Kilo 5 Kilo. Look them up on QRZ.com. KD4VVZ, General Daily, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And we're just I think it's just the coolest thing ever. Lucedale's a neat little town. And if you haven't been to Lucedale and you're in that part of the world, stop by Lucedale. I think you'll enjoy yourself. General, have a great event on Saturday, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Don. Have a good night.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, let's go to another cool guy who I got to spend some time with in Huntsville, and that, of course, is the kit guy. That's Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB. Good to see you, my friend.
Muted, Joe.
You're muted. There you go.
Oh, no. You mean I turned the gain down?
Yeah,
well,
that was just the gain. That's all that was. That's all right.
I'll tell you what. I really enjoyed seeing you, Don, at Huntsville and being a part of the Young Ham of the Year presentation. And I was also at the Northeast Ham Exposition a week later. So I'm going to get started with some photos, and we'll show a few things of what happened. And we will start here with, let's see if it comes up. There we go. Thank you, Josh. What we're looking at right here is from the Northeastern Ham Exposition in Marlborough, Mass., which is kind of between Boston and Worcester. They pronounce it Worcester. And this Icom 7851 was set up by Marty NN1C. I always say that stands for New England's #1 contester. And of course, we were treated to an R2 level blackout. I'm sure Tamitha knew about that one. And so we really couldn't work much on Thursday or Friday, but on Saturday and Sunday, the bands came up. And I had a chance to sit down in front of this beautiful radio, and I worked several people involved in the Ohio and Kansas QSO parties. And it was fun to talk to a few of the people in Kansas that I knew. So that was a real fun time to use that radio. And Marty did a great job of getting that all set up. This was the setup for Friday night, part of it actually, where we did a kit that is an FM stereo receiver. And I don't have a picture of the kit with me right now. I will show that on a later show. It is a very simple kit, except it has a 16-pin surface mount IC that goes on the bottom. And I taught them how to solder it both by hand and using the solder paste method, which is just magic. It is so much fun, and people will learn that surface mount parts can be done by hand, and it's not as bad as you think. And so everybody walked away with a working FM stereo receiver, and they were just shocked at the sound quality of it, and all for less than what you would expect. It was just $10 per builder for the kit, which included the batteries and the headphones. So we're going to be using that same kit in Enid, Oklahoma, and that will be in early November, I think November 5th. And I will be speaking, but not doing a build, in Wyoming. I will be in Cheyenne, Wyoming in early October. So I'm going to get a bit of driving in, kind of keep the hybrid going. So first, like I said, in October, you're going to look for me in Cheyenne, and then in November in Enid, Oklahoma. Now, this is a look inside the exhibit hall in kind of a ballroom type facility that was at the hotel in Marlborough this past weekend. And I have not ever been to this convention. So this was a lot of fun and a great time to see everybody. This was the grand banquet. As you can see, I am shooting that from the head table. This was the first time I've been given the great honor of giving a banquet speech. And they had told me in the past that, some run a little long and stuff. And I said, well, no, I promise I won't do that. In fact, I'll time it broadcast style. And I had them laughing for a half an hour. And I think we did real well with that, to the point where both the chair people of the convention said, you are coming back next year. So after doing a kit build and a banquet speech, I don't know if I'll do the banquet again next year, but definitely going to do another kit build. And what a great bunch of people. Very friendly group of people in New England at the Ham Exposition. You can see the banquet hall was packed. And it was quite an honor that they put me at the head table and then trusted me at the podium with the mic. And we had a great time, and I truly enjoyed it. I was kind of shocked when one of the people in the elevator on the way upstairs afterwards said, you knocked it out of Fenway. And I thought that was great. So that was a fun experience. And Gordo, I know you've been a speaker there as well. And it is a great bunch of people.
It sure is.
And this is Huntsville. We're looking at the Space and Rocket Center. If you've never been to the Huntsville Hamfest, you got to come a day early and take this place in, because it's very well worth seeing. It is an incredible NASA museum facility, and just absolutely wonderful experience. Inside there, this is a view inside one of the Apollo capsules, and took that picture. And model of the lunar module to scale. And it's amazing how big that thing really was. And you always think it was smaller than that. This is the isolation chamber, because they didn't want to bring back any moon bugs, but they discovered there weren't any. So, but that's kind of an interesting airstream that was converted for NASA's use. This is inside the main building. It's kind of the back end of the first stage of the Saturn rocket. And
what's cool about that, Joe, is, if I can interrupt for a sec, they have a full stack Saturn V all the way up to the, full stack laying on its side. And that is the most, it's one thing to see it standing up, but when you see that thing laying on its side, the scale is incredible how big that thing was.
Yeah,
it really is.
And this is a view inside one of the engines. I did a little artistic photography for that one.
Excellent.
And this was the reason we were there. Aubrey was the Young Ham of the Year. And she comes from Georgia. And Don and I and several others got to be part of presenting the award. And I'll tell you, the reason I was part of the presentation and not as much the photography was because our editor from CQ Magazine, Rich W2VU, could not make it. And so he put it in Don and I's more than capable hands, and we had a great time.
And my wife's capable hands. While you were up on stage, you couldn't take shots. So those shots are my wife Dawn took those with your camera. So thank you, Dawn.
This particular shot was done by her, and while I was giving the CQ awards to her, representing the magazine, and she took this one as well with us together. And then I took this one. She took this one. This was the whole group of us together, with all the way from Gigaparts and Yesu and myself representing CQ, our Young Ham of the Year, and then Don representing Newsline and Ham Nation. And
nice shoes. Shoes, Don.
And then the two Hohensies representing Radio Waves, which awarded her an antenna. And absolutely well-deserving candidate this year.
She's amazing. She really is.
Yeah.
And there's a better picture of her right there that I took at the end. So we got in all the goodies that she got.
Yep, Yezu's going to send her a radio, so that's
And of course, I can't go to Huntsville without throwing a few in the barrel. So I have to show that.
What was your total there, Joe? What'd you end up pulling away from that whole event?
I got like 3 or 4 books, and I got a very nice power supply, a Diamond 40 amp power supply.
Oh, nice.
And that's definitely going under the table here. This is a new kit. It's actually a kit that was put out about 4 or 5 years ago by the Joplin Amateur Radio Club of Joplin, Missouri. Now, if you remember, a few years ago, they put out the Joplin antenna launcher, which was a compressed air kind of a cannon launcher for antennas. And they did that as a fundraiser to replace the repeaters that were destroyed in the EF5 tornado there in Joplin. This is a dual bench power supply, and it puts out about 1.5 amps on both sides. And this is the parts. You see, it's not a huge parts count. So this would qualify, I think, as a nice beginner's kit. And it's very useful because everybody needs a variable bench power supply. Now you can see the power transformer and the circuit board. If you look at that, it looks very simple, very easy to work with. No ICs, no toroids, things like that. This is one of the case parts, and you have to mount the regulator ICs, which look like transistors, and you have to use a mica insulator and grease, which is all supplied with the kit. It's going to sell for somewhere around $70 or $80, but it's well worth it. And this is kind of a close-up of how I bent the leads and stuff, because once the leads are bent up like that on both sides, the circuit board gets put down on top of those and bolted in place, and you can see those leads poke through on the left and right of the circuit board. And you can see the other wires that are already on the board and ready to connect to the switches, pots, and so forth. So this is what it looks like in the cabinet. You can see the backs of the 2 digital displays, and you can see that it is definitely a dual power supply. There are 2 separate power supplies within this one unit. And the case is assembled a panel at a time, so it's very easy to get in and out of it. And this is what it looks like. I can have 2 different voltages. You can see there's 2 different outputs. There's 2 little switches which can turn on and off each of the outputs. And there's separate pots to control the voltage for each one, and a power on-off switch, and it comes with the line cord and everything. It's a really neat kit. You're going to have to watch for it. I'm guessing they said it was probably coming out in October sometime, and it will be featured in the October issue of CQ Magazine. And something that you really, really want to have on your bench to power new kits. Hardly any hum or ripple or anything. And it's a wonderful new kit, and they will be selling them outside of their club to anybody on their website. So you have to look for the Joplin Amateur Radio Club site.
What did you say the current is on that?
About 1.5 amps. So
Oh,
you're
nice.
gonna power a lot of small kits and QRP
Yeah.
stuff. It's not going to power your 50-watt radios
No.
or something, but
That's nice.
all the little projects that you want to work with, it'll dial down to 5 volts. And as we know, a lot of kits run on 5 volts for logic and so forth, and it dials up all the way to about 16 volts. And I have been powering several kits off of it, and it'll let me power more than one on different voltages. That's why I like this kit. And very well done. And like I said, this is a kind of a beta version of the newer one. And playing with the QDX kit, as you can see, I'm heard all over the place with the 5 watts of QRP
Wow.
FT8 with a kit that fits in your shirt pocket. And
Wow.
so kit building is always fun. You can build neat things that you can use. And Somebody was asking about the toggle switches. They just turn on and off each half of the power supply. So you don't have to have both halves on if you don't want. So we're going to close the screen and put my crazy face back on the TV. And here we go. And it is a wonderful power supply. There's no fans or anything. And something that, like I said, even a beginner can build, and well worth having on your bench.
I like it.
Very
nice, Joe. Yeah.
Great job, Joe. Great.
Glad to do that.
Amanda, did you see any questions come in?
I didn't. He got the toggle switches. So
I have one. So, Joe, for a long time now, I have been recommending the Hako, the $100-ish iron, but you have shown me Xtronic. Do you still kind of recommend them as your go-to kind of soldering
Yes, I do.
iron?
For a low-cost soldering iron, you
yeah.
bet. And
talk
and
about why.
The neat thing about it is that the newer version of the Xtronic USA 3020 is that it has two goosenecks on the sides and has alligator clips, and it will hold a circuit board for you as well. And you can get a deluxe kit that even comes with a desk lamp and with extra tips and solder and a solder sucker and about everything you need, and a soldering mat. And the surprise was, when I was first introduced to these soldering stations, is number one, they're very light. They are a switching type supply, but the tip is still isolated. It is definitely ESD qualified. It has automatic sleep mode, so that when you pick up the iron again, it starts up again. And surprisingly, I got to visit the place that does it, because I was told it's somewhere in Nebraska. Well, it turns out that it's on the west side of Lincoln here, and I got to visit them about 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm hoping to make another visit soon to get an update on all their neat new products. And boy, do they have some fancy soldering stations like the one you're showing there. That one is a hot air rework station, and it has different size nozzles. I could have used that this last weekend. We did have another ham, KE1L, and she performed the heating of the solder paste on one side of the room while I did on the other side, and that's how we handled 28 builders. And this particular one here that he's showing can do that. It will heat up solder paste and either mount or remove surface mount parts.
Yeah, when I was doing the true SDX build, I ended up buying this because I wanted to try my hand at swapping out that tiny, I don't even know how many pins it had, but that tiny surface mount chip. And you know what? This was great. I mean, it's more than the Hako, but if you consider the soldering iron's $50 and the hot air reflow kit here is like $150, it's a really nice kit. And I'm not affiliated with them. We're not affiliated with Xtronic, but
no.
I definitely echo, at least from my little experience with them, Joe's opinion of them, and I think they're pretty good stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a coincidence they actually happen to be here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and that makes it good, because when they ship it out, it comes from the middle of the country, gets anywheres real quick.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go do some video there, Joe.
I think I will. I think I'm either going to do video or a set of stills. I'm going to visit their facility.
Oh, that'll be a fun time.
Sound like nice future guests to have on too.
Yeah,
I think so.
Let them know when you go out there. It's like, hey, we'll have you on Ham Nation. You got a whole group of people that are just finding out about your stuff, and it's a lot cheaper than some of the other options, but it looks like it's still high quality, which we appreciate as hams. Cheap and good. Get as cheap as we can get it, and as good as we can get it.
You know, I hear that there's a pick 3, and I don't think cheap and good are in the same pick 3. Or pick 2 out of 3.
That's true. The triangle. Yeah.
As soon as Joplin puts out the new kit, in fact, I'll be at their Ham Fest at the end of September. That's another road trip, and I will ask them and see if they have a link to order the kit.
Yeah, very good.
Good stuff.
Well, we've reached the end of our evening. We hope you all enjoyed it. Let's go around the room. Joe, you already mentioned where you're going to be. It sounds like you're hitting the road. You're going on ham radio tour. You got a Joe Eisenberg tour bus that's taking you around the country?
I wished I did. But instead I'll be in my plug-in hybrid.
There you go.
I'm getting about 57 to the gallon. So that's going to be the way to do it. And
you're busier now than before you're busier now than when you were working, now that you're retired.
Yes. And and in fact, yesterday I spent the whole day in Grand Island, which is 100 miles west of here. The Grand Island Amateur Radio Society is doing a public service, walking around and finding lost kids and helping people with directions and watching for problems at the Nebraska State Fair, which goes until Labor Day. And I will be back there again on Friday and Saturday helping out.
Busy.
And that's 100 miles each way. So I think I'm busier now than when I was working.
For sure.
They gave me a Prius when I got to Huntsville, and I have to say I've never drove a Prius. I can't say I loved it entirely, but I'll tell you what I did love is that I think I squeezed the handle for a second on the gas tank before taking it back to the rental, and it was like topped off, and that was it. So I did like that aspect of it. That was
and I like the fact that I can plug it in at home and I can do most of my daily errands and get back home and not touch a drop of gas.
Indeed.
Well, I didn't have a hybrid, but Dawn and I went since Tyler had to work. It was just the two of us, so we took the little Saturn Sky convertible, the little Roadster, and that thing has a 12-gallon tank. And I was thinking, I said, I don't know where we're probably gonna have to gas up in Birmingham or maybe even before. We made it all the way to just right around the Space Center in Huntsville on 12 gallons of gas. That's 399 miles.
That's
wow,
great.
Not bad.
That's very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
That was very fuel efficient and a lot of fun too. I mean, it rained, on us, so we didn't get to do top down. Plus, she's not a top down highway girl anyway. But it was great. It was nice.
For those
you say that about all the girls.
Those who want to say hi to me, I can say Joplin, Cheyenne, and Enid are all on my list.
Very good.
Good deal.
Gordo, what's your week look like, or until we see you again? How are you doing?
We're doing fine, and it's very busy here, working up our great new instructor program for all those volunteer examiners that you heard from tonight that are teaching and testing. We'll turn them into dual purpose. And Larry and Alan, thank you both for your time tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And Dawn, how are you doing?
We're doing good.
Yeah.
Doing good. I work at a car dealership, and today, of course, the last day of the month, and it was extremely hectic, but I'm so glad that September starts tomorrow, which means that we can relax a little bit, and then I have Friday off. I'm working Saturday, and then we sold enough cars to where we have Monday off. Can you imagine that? A car dealer is going to be closed on Memorial Day because we sold enough cars to do that.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. Made a little extra bonus money on top of what my regular commission is going to be. So, yeah, you know what? Life is pretty good. So,
yeah. And Amanda, you're ready to get on with things. What's going on with you?
I have big announcements. Don't forget Colorado QSO party this weekend, Saturday, 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. Mountain Time. So listen for us. Jeff and I are going to be out camper portable with the 705.
Oh.
So. Yes, we're gonna put a G5 RV up in the tree and have a go at it. So hopefully I get to work everybody, but your expectations, you have to have a good antenna with a lower QRP rig. So we're really hoping, and we will make some adjustments as needed. But this thing has been resonant, people, so it's a really good antenna for us, and I'm looking forward to trying it out during the QSO party. By the way, we won first place in our category last year. So.
There you go.
All right. Congratulations.
Maybe you can get back to Lucedale and talk to the scratch and post folks.
There you go.
Very good.
I hope
Kilo 5 kilo.
What?
And other things, we've got some nuts going on here. D-Star and 14 Charlie, DMR on 31012. And I didn't see any of our net controls on HF on chat, but, look for them around 7192 and 14268.
There you go. Oh, well, I have a busy weekend as well. The patrons have decided that this weekend we're going to, for our Saturday live stream on Ham Radio Crash Course, we're going to go bit down into the advanced side of JSA call. So everybody's using WSJTX, which, or, for FT8 and all that.
Yeah.
But JSA call's still out there, and it's still really popular for like keyboard to keyboard communication. But it goes much deeper than that, almost like relay stations, like you used to do in packet radio. So we'll be going zero to hero in explaining how to use JSA call. And I'm going to be putting this crazy radio on the air doing it. This is the Shegu G106, which if anybody follows some of the YouTube videos that have been coming out about this, it should be interesting if we can get it to work at all. But I will have my 705 as a backup, of course, because I know that always works. So with that said, everybody, thanks everybody for watching Ham Nation. We always appreciate it. And really the fact you take all this time, we got 300 something people watching and sending all those comments. It really does mean a lot to us. So I think we'll just say 73s unless anybody has anything else they want to say.
That's about it from here. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Appreciate you.
73.
Good night, 73.
Now, I did test this radio, and it does actually work on the computer, so I'm pretty
On the
positive it will
computer.
work. Well, it has, JSA calls. It digital.
I saw somebody's YouTube video when I was sitting in the airport. I thought, I want to see this thing about this G106, and it certainly didn't sound good.